New tonight, a warning for anyone with joint pain that might be considering stem cell injections. The treatment is advertised by many practices in our area as a one-stop way to cure all sorts of pain.
But one local woman says she learned the hard way that it may not be the case. WBTV's chief investigative reporter Nick Oxner joins us now live with more on this. So Nick, what kind of treatments are we talking about?
Well, Jamie, Maureen, stem cell therapy involves taking stem cells from your own body and injecting it in places where you need tissue to regrow. So, if you have arthritis with some tissue left, stem cells can help regrow that tissue. But it means it likely won't work if your arthritis is so bad it's already bone on bone. And that's the condition Roberta Coleman was in when a medical practice took her money and treated her with stem cells more than a year ago.
Original price was $92.50.
Roberta Coleman was so desperate to cure the arthritis in her foot, she decided to call a number she heard on the radio.
They could fix pain, arthritis, problems in the joints, that it was somewhat of a miracle cure to fix everything.
She called the Accident, Injury, and Rehabilitation Center in Florence, South Carolina, which also uses the name Advantage Health and Wellness, as seen in this sign outside its building. They could treat her with stem cell injections, but it would come at a steep price.
The cost of it was enormous. I paid $6,000 cash out of pocket.
What she bought was 2 plasma injections and the stem cell treatment.
They say they inject 1 billion stem cells from a place, I believe it was in California, and that it's shipped in frozen on dry ice, and you make an appointment that day to come in and get it injected.
After you had the stem cell treatment, was it the magic bullet cure-all that it was promised to be?
No, sir.
What would you call it?
A scam.
Out thousands of dollars and still in pain, Coleman went to see Dr. Kent Ellington, a foot and ankle specialist at Ortho Carolina in Charlotte.
I took my paperwork to show him, and he pretty much told me that I had been played, for lack of better words.
So if they're going to inject something in me that's not from my own body, red flag?
Correct.
Ellington says he thought it was a joke when Coleman first told him the stem cells injected in her body were from California. But even if they had used stem cells from Coleman's body, Ellington says, her advanced arthritis couldn't be cured by stem cell treatment because she didn't have any tissue left to regrow.
What's important is that they have to be used for the right indication and the right setting, the right patient population, the right condition, the right diagnosis.
It's not this magic bullet, one size fixes all that we're starting to see in radio and TV ads.
Exactly.
We asked for an interview with the doctor that treated Coleman at the Accident, Injury, and Rehabilitation Center, but they refused to talk with us and had their lawyer send a statement instead. It said in part, quote, "The Accident, Injury, and Rehabilitation Center has a history of helping people, and the practice stands behind the services provided to this patient. As with all clinical treatments, there are no guaranteed outcomes."
Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and unfortunately, I think some patients can get some false hope in some of these technologies.
Stem cell therapy is still so new, Ellington and his colleagues are working to form guidelines for how to use the treatments in their practice.
Some patients, unfortunately, are kind of spitting in the wind with some of these modalities. And specifically here at Ortho Carolina, we're trying to do it in an ethical way and with a cost-conscious way.
For Roberta Coleman, she hopes her wasted money and extra year of pain is a lesson for others.
There are people like you who hear this radio commercial every day and might think about trying it. What would you tell them?
To research it, look into it better than I did.
Now, the practice where Coleman got her stem cell injection, Accident, Injury, and Rehabilitation Center, also goes by Advantage Health, like we told you in the story. Last week, its website and Facebook pages were online and working. Today, a Google search shows they're not. Now, a spokeswoman for this practice says she chalks it up to the practices being sold, but didn't give any explanation when I pressed why today.
Yeah. I just hate that somebody's out that much money, too, for something that just did nothing for them.
And still hurting. That's
Yes.
the worst part.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Good
right.
stuff, as always.
Right now on WBTV, investigation continues into stem cell treatment and companies that promise you they will cure just about any kind of pain you have.
Yeah, we sent a hidden camera into a pitch for one local practice's stem cell treatment and found claims that are too good to be true. WBTV's chief investigative reporter Nick Oxner joins us now in studio with more on this. Nick.
Yeah, Jamie, Maureen, our investigation started a few months ago when we aired a story, a woman who paid thousands out of pocket for stem cell treatment to a clinic in South Carolina on the promise it would cure her pain, with no results. Well, after that story, a viewer invited us to attend an upcoming seminar hosted by a different local medical practice that would pitch how effective the therapy is. We sent a producer with a hidden camera and caught promises that one doctor told me were misleading.
Our producer went to a restaurant in Hickory and checked in for the stem cell seminar.
Hi.
Took a seat alongside a couple dozen other people. They'd been promised lunch, but the tables were empty as the presentation began, and they stayed that way throughout. A room full of people were there at the invitation of Carolina's Regenerative Medicine, a medical practice in Statesville whose website advertises specializing in stem cell treatment. Until just days ago, the practice's website said it was supervised by Dr. Hemal Mehta, who was indicted this fall by a federal grand jury in Tennessee on charges of distributing painkillers. The website also says they use stem cells from outside a patient's own body.
I don't know about you, but I'm not quite as fit as I used to be, and the cells in my body are less fit as well. So they're just not ideal for the regeneration that we would like to see.
In fact, the presenter told the audience those stem cells are so powerful they can cure just about any pain.
Ligaments, cartilage, tendonitis, rotator cuff tears, knees, hips, spine, back pain, and neck pain, shoulders, elbow. And don't fret if you don't see something on here that's ailing you. We probably just ran out of room on that slide.
Yeah, that's unfortunately false and misleading.
We showed video of the presentation to Dr. Kent Ellington, who practices at Ortho Carolina and leads a committee studying the best, most effective use of stem cells.
Broad claims like this are just not supported.
What do you think when you watch that?
I think it's things you learn when you're a kid. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I'm hopeful for the future of this science, but there's just not enough data and evidence to support that it can achieve all these goals.
Not only is the science behind stem cells not settled in support of the claims, Ellington says effective stem cell treatment uses cells from a patient's own body. For weeks, we sent email after email trying to get comment from Carolina's Regenerative Medicine. First, the practice said they were too busy for an interview, then referred us to their lawyer when we offered to push the story back to accommodate their schedule. Their lawyer responded to our third request for comment, but said we could ask our own expert about the benefits of stem cell therapy. We went to Carolina's Regenerative Medicine to try and get answers, but the doors were locked, even though there were cars in the parking lot and we saw an employee go inside.
How do you guys, if you're trying to take a scientific approach to this, go up against practices like these that are promising a cure-all to everybody?
That's a great question. That's tough to answer, honestly. I think just patient education.
If someone's telling you we can definitely treat this problem, that's a red flag.
Correct. I don't think that's someone you would put your hope in. I just don't think there's a guarantee that you can get a shot in your knee that's going to fix your 10-year-old arthritic problem.
Now, stem cell treatment isn't covered by any insurance, which means all of its tens of thousands of dollars in costs come out of pocket. Now, we've got more on what to watch for if you're considering this kind of therapy, the things to look for online at WBTV.com.
And you got to feel for that captive audience, those people who are hurting, and they're
They'll do
also
anything.
probably on a fixed income.
Yes, that's
They're not
right.
in a place in their life where they should be doling out money for something that's simply not going to work.
All the more reason it's important to know the facts and,
Yes.
and know what could and could not be effective.
We're going to talk more about that, by the way, at 7:30. Nick is going to come on, so really important
watch
information.
that.
Thanks.